And this is what I don't understand people doing first impressions for products, especially complexion products, because like your thoughts changes so much as you test it out. Hello everyone, it's Aijing here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Makeup by Mario foundation. So in this review, you're going to see me testing this foundation out across 3 different days with 3 different applications, different base products. I have lots of footage for you of my face close up. Hope you're ready for that. And I'll let you know about how I got on with this foundation. If you've bought it and tried it, I would love to hear what you thought about it in the comments down below. And by the way, if this is your first time to my channel, hello, my name is Aijing, that's like Beijing with an I. I do a lot of very thorough product reviews here on my channel. I am also a self-proclaimed Lisa Eldridge expert. However, I don't like buying loads of stuff for the sake of just buying things and owning things that I never use up. So you'll see my unique take on the purchase or past videos where I call it grab or drab and analyze a new release and try to dupe it and say why I wouldn't want to buy it and hopefully talk you out of buying it as well. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe. That will really help me out. And obviously liking and commenting always help me out as well. I let my creativity take the reins over on my Instagram as well, so make sure you follow me on there for lots of makeup inspiration and behind the scenes. So without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so first of all, it costs £45 or 43 USD. There is 1 fluid ounce or 30 mils in there, which is very standard for a foundation. In terms of the packaging, it comes in this black box. Here it is, got his logo and everything, and on the side you can see the foundation shade peeking through. I have mine in shade 5N, just so you know. And the bottle itself is quite a nice glass. The white cap is plastic and pretty cheap, and the component is a chrome silver. The color scheme is the same as his other products. And the claims by Mario is that it's breathable, luminous, effortlessly builds, blends to illuminate the complexion, customizable long wear coverage. And some of the sentences, like marketing sentences he has on his website, are reveal skin's natural luminosity, featuring moisture grip, trademarked technology. The foundation hydrates skin for 12 hours, glides on easily for customizable coverage. Layer it on or shear it out. Apply with brush or fingers for less coverage. I'm going to talk through kind of what the claims are, how I found whether the claims to be true, talk about the colors, everything. First of all, I just want to go through the ingredients list. So it's coconut alkanes, glycerin, dimethicone, grapeseed oil, squalene, sunflower seed oil. So quite a few oils and squalene that I guess is the moisture grip or moisturizing claims behind it. Glycerin, dimethicone, again quite high up on the ingredient list, which helps with moisture. Whether I found it moisturizing, stay tuned to find out. Also, it says it may contain titanium dioxide, mica, and iron oxide. So you know on like food packagings, you'll see it may contain peanuts, and that's usually because the food is made in a factory where they also make nut related products. You know what I mean? They put that there for kind of like allergy warnings. Actual ingredient list doesn't have mica in it, but it says it may contain it. So I wonder if it's because they're producing other products that have high content of mica, because as you all know, mica is the ingredient that gives you shimmery shine, luminosity. And we're definitely gonna talk about the sparkles that may or may not be in this foundation. But first, I want to get into the color. So there are 30 flexible shades. So by flexible shades, I think he means, you could wear 2 or 3 shades in the collection and still be okay. I can't say whether this is a good shade range personally, because I'm not super light and I'm not super dark. But what I do find is that because I'm Asian, my skin tone is actually really light. It just has a strong yellow undertone. So often when I get a foundation matched, the shade will be too dark for me, and sometimes that makes finding shades a little bit tricky because of that yellow undertone, but at the same time I'm actually quite light skinned. If you're Asian like me, do you have this problem? Yeah, let me know in the comments down below. So on his website, he's got this shade matching service, and I of course used it, and it matched me to 6W, so 6 warm, and I was definitely a little bit concerned about that. Interestingly, on Shade Matching Service, uses AI and kind of paints a foundation over your face so you can see how it blends. And it tells me that I can go up or down 1 shade. I did go down 1 shade and picked up 5 neutral. And I am quite glad I went with 5 neutral although I think 5 Neutral is actually still a little bit too dark for me. The reason I'm glad it's neutral is because it's already quite yellowy in terms of undertone. So I think if I went in with warm, it would just be too golden for me and I would definitely look a bit like a Oompa Loompa. But even with 5N, when I wore a light layer, it looked like the shade match was pretty good. But when I really packed it on and let it sat for a few hours, I noticed that my face just looked a lot darker than my neck. Obviously, it's like my own fault for not blending it down to my neck, but for the purpose of the wear test that day, it didn't really matter whether I blended it down to my neck or not. And it was a good thing that I didn't, because it kind of showed that the colour wasn't 100% perfect. It was good, but it wasn't 100% perfect. And also, I just want to say, I'm not actually wearing foundation on my face right now, which I know it seems a bit stupid, but I was filming something else and kind of last minute decided to film this foundation review, so apologies. So in terms of my skin type, I have dry combination skin, so I have eczema all over my body, and I do have like a couple eczema patches on my face that pop up somewhere, but at the same time, you know, I've got blackheads and I like have little like closed comedones here on my forehead. I do get breakouts, so it's definitely kind of dry combination skin type that I have. In terms of the smell, there's no fragrance. It just smells like foundation. It smells a little bit kind of makeup chemically, but nothing bad. It just smells like makeup. And in terms of the texture, it's not too thick, it's not too thin, so it just, again, very kind of average, middle of the road foundation. So on my day 1 of testing this out, I didn't actually moisturize my face. I just kind of on the whim decided to put this foundation on my face and only put it on half of my face. I used about half a pump and actually blended out with my fingers. It was really sheer coverage. I didn't put moisturizer or anything because I kind of wanted to see how moisturizing this foundation would be. On first application with just my fingers, it looked quite nice. It was a, you know, just a sheer amount of coverage, so it kind of just evened out my skin tone a little bit. It didn't really cover very much. It just evened everything out. It wasn't anything spectacular, but you know, it was a light coverage with my fingers, and actually the foundation blended out super easily with my fingers. And then I checked throughout the day how it looked, and I noticed that after a couple of hours, I noticed it clinging to bits of my skin that has a little bit more texture, which didn't happen on first application, but with time it definitely happened. So I'm not entirely convinced by the moisture grip technology, but also I know at the same time I didn't moisturize my skin or anything for this particular wear test. And for the second day, I did my normal skincare routine and used the e.l.f. Putty Primer on half of my face and the Glossier Future Dew Oil Serum Hybrid Primer thing on the other half of my face. Obviously, the e.l.f. Putty Primer is meant to be a more mattifying primer, and Glossier Future Dew was quite dewy, but honestly, I don't actually think I noticed too big of a difference in terms of finishing, even with the different primers. Maybe one side was slightly dewier. And this time, I used a full pump for my entire face and used the IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe Foundation Brush. It's the dual-ended one that I used. Again, the foundation blended out super easily, evenly. I think one pump was quite good for my entire face, and I think the general coverage was a little bit heavier with a brush than my fingers. So I didn't set this foundation on purpose because I just wanted to see how it performed without setting. It wore off quite evenly. I tested it out for about 8 hours, but I did notice like patch of foundation that congealed. You should see in the clips that I'm inserting now. Otherwise, I didn't really notice it like clinging onto my dry patches that much. But yeah, overall, I was actually pretty impressed by how it wore. Third day is, I feel like when the truth came out, because I really packed this foundation on. So again, I did my normal skincare routine. I used then I used the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter as my primer because I know the performance of that primer so well. And then again, I used the IT Cosmetics foundation brush. So I started off by just using one pump over my entire face, and then I pumped out another half a pump to just put it more around the areas that I wanted more coverage, kind of like around my nose where I have my freckles and around my chin area. And then I set it with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Powder, again a product that I know really well. So I do feel like I had pretty good coverage when I packed it on more, so I do think the buildable coverage claim is true. However, when you pack it on more, you feel the foundation more, which obviously is just logical. So I did feel like the foundation was quite tacky, like I could feel that I was wearing foundation. I don't think I could have gotten away without setting it because it really did feel sticky. Before setting it, my face was very, very luminous, I think with a combination of Charlotte Tilbury primer and the fact that this is a luminous foundation. After using the setting powder, it definitely took away that excess shine. So I guess it's a little bit of a catch-22 because if you're buying this foundation for the dewy finish, but then after packing on with full coverage, you need to set it, then it's not dewy anymore. Do you know what I mean? One thing I was quite happy about was the fact that it didn't look too weird on my nose. I think it looked a little bit bumpy just because the texture around my nose is not even like, you know, got blackheads there, pores like a normal human, but it didn't take up really badly from some other foundations that I've tried in the past. So I was happy with that. But on this particular wear test day was when I noticed the shade demarcation line. The shade wasn't quite right for me, again because I really packed on the foundation. Also, this wear test day really showed me how sparkly this foundation was. And this is what I don't understand people doing first impressions for products, especially complexion products, because like your thoughts changes so much as you test it out. It is on day 1 and day 2. Because I was aware of this like sparkly glitter claims that was going around. And on day 1 and day 2, I did notice a tiny bit of sparkle, but it was only very specific lighting conditions. It was with my like Glam Core mirror. It's a square mirror that has lights in like the outline. I noticed sparkles when I specifically looked in that mirror with those lights, but I didn't see it in natural lighting. I didn't see it wandering around in the house. But on day 3, when I really packed this foundation on, I saw the sparkles. It was so obvious. It was obvious in daylight, and I hope you can see it in the footage that I've put up here. I did try to capture it, and also what I did was I put it on the back of my hand, let it sit for a couple hours, looked back at my hand later on, and it was Sparkle City. It was shocking. You can also see a close-up footage now of the bottle. Again, I took the clip of the bottle with a flash on, and I thought, if you're putting the flash on, you're more likely to see sparkles. That's just natural science. But the fact that I could see the sparkles in natural daylight and just in my normal kitchen, like dining room lighting, I was quite shocked by that. I have watched a couple other reviews. I watched Sophia's Cease Beauty's review. I really like her channel, and she did mention about the sparkles, like she didn't notice it, which is really interesting. And I don't think, I haven't seen any other people that mention it like in the way that I have seen the sparkles on YouTube, but definitely I saw it, and I guess maybe that's just because I use quite a lot, perhaps that's why. But the thing is, if you want a full coverage from this foundation, you need to use a lot. And in terms of comparing it with my other foundations in my collection, so first off, the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self Refresh foundations. This is the foundation I wore on my wedding day because of the coverage and longevity. I don't think it compares to this one. This one gives you better coverage, and I don't actually think this is a very matte foundation. It gives a pretty natural finish. It has a little bit of a satin finish. I really like this one. And in terms of comparing it to my kind of all-time favorite foundation, the Lisa Eldridge foundation, this one has less coverage, but I do think this one wears better, especially around my nose. This one is not as dewy, but you're not gonna get sparkles from this foundation. And of course there is a Pat McGrath foundation as well. These two foundations are completely different because this is super liquidy, light coverage. And lastly, this is actually what I'm wearing on my skin. It is the Ciate London Extraordinary foundation. I think these two foundations are the most similar. So the Makeup by Mario has the luminosity claims. this is actually a pretty kind of luminous foundation, but I don't notice sparkles with this one. Also, this one gives me better coverage straight off the bat. So if you're looking for a luminous full coverage foundation, I think this is better. You know, I don't think this is a bad foundation. And to like, the thing with the sparkles, unless you're, you know, really packing it on, it doesn't really matter. I don't think people will notice it. And also after you put blush, bronzer on, like, you know, sparkles from your face, is it from the blush, is it from the bronzer? I don't think people will know. I don't think people will care. So in terms of whether this foundation lives up to its claims, first of all, having it been breathable, yes, I do think it's breathable if you're just using kind of a light hand, especially if you're blending out with your fingers. Luminosity, well, yes, it sparkles and will probably give you vampire skin, depending on how much you use. Effortlessly builds, yeah, I agree with that, but if you build it up, you definitely need to set it, because then it's no longer breathable and you can definitely feel the tackiness. In terms of it being long wearing, like claiming for 12 hours, I don't think it's that long wearing. When I didn't set it, it wore off pretty quickly. Kind of after 8 hours, it was mostly gone. When I did set it, it was fine, but obviously that's kind of the power of the setting powder, not the foundation itself. And lastly, this moisture grip technology and having it hydrating your skin. No. I didn't see that, to be quite frankly honest. And the way I tested that out was by not wearing my skincare on that day and just using, like, you know, my fingers to blend out a tiny bit of the product. And I did notice it clinging on. So I don't really think this moisture grip trademark technology is anything spectacular from me testing it out. Obviously, everyone is different. I've said many times on my channel that makeup is super personal. So this didn't work out amazingly for me. I will definitely still be using it. I'll wear it again, but it's not like holy grail, and on first application, it didn't wow me. Because there are some foundations when I, even just on first application, like I remember feeling, oh my god, this is amazing. And I had that with this foundation, this foundation, this foundation, and also the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation. But you know, at the end of the day, it's just a foundation, you know, like. But this is my 2 cents and how it worked out for me. I would love to hear how it worked out for you. And I hope this review is somewhat helpful in helping you decide whether to purchase this. Okay, I keep forgetting to film outros. I don't know why, but anyway, thank you so much for watching. Go check out some of my other videos on my channel if you're new here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, and by the way, I am wearing the new Pat McGrath Chroma Luxe pigment on my eyes, just the one shade. The review of that collection is coming soon. And now I just squirted this all over my hand, got nowhere to put it.